key to good lighting in a photograph begins by careful observation. A single light source can be hard-edged with sharp, defined shadows, or soft and enveloping. It can have a warm, cool, or neutral color. All of these characteristics can be used to light a portrait, whether you use natural or artificial light. If a light source is hard-edged, we use the term specular to describe it. If it is soft, we use the term diffused. The hardness or softness of any light source is dependent upon its size relative to the subject. In the example shown here, we have simulated high noon daylight in the studio. Notice that the light is hard, with sharply defined shadows around the eyes, commonly referred to as raccoon eyes. The Sun is a very large light source, of course, but it is 93 million miles from Earth, so it has a very hard-edged effect of a small light source. This is not flattering in a portrait, so we try to improve it by filling in the shadows with a reflector or a small flash. This makes a usable image, but it's not the best light for our subject. If the day was cloudy and overcast, however, the shadows would be softened or diffused by the cloud cover, effectively making the sky a very large light source. Notice how this is a more flattering light on the subject. Bouncing a flash off the ceiling indoors can create a similar diffuse effect. Now let's see what happens if the light angle changes. By moving the light around to the side more, we can begin to see how it defines the shapes on a face more clearly. Light placed parallel to the face on one side or the other creates split lighting. The face is split into highlight and shadow. We would have to add a fill light or reflector to the shadow side to reveal more detail. A better option here might be to move the light up about forehead level and angled down to create a commonly used portrait lighting setup, Rembrandt lighting. This approach derives its name from the painter Rembrandt, who posed his subjects in daylight or candlelight at about the same angle to the face. Notice the small triangular highlight that appears on the opposite cheek. This is a key characteristic of this lighting. Of course, we can use a larger source to soften it or fill in, or both to get different degrees of light and shadow. Another approach is called broad lighting. It is similar to Rembrandt lighting in that we are lighting the broadest part of the face, which is towards camera. How we angle the light will affect the shadows and highlights on the face, as you can see. It is an especially useful technique for people with long, thin faces. Next is the opposite of broad lighting, known as narrow lighting. Instead, the side of the face away from camera is being lit by the primary source. This requires more fill light if detail is desired on the broader side of the face. It is often used in movies since it has a more dramatic, theatrical feel. It is also often employed to reduce the width of the face in subjects with rounder features. If we wanted to create a more fashionable portrait, we might use high front lighting, also known as butterfly lighting. Butterfly lighting describes the kind of shadow shape created below the nose. Some feel it looks a bit like a butterfly's wings. The light is usually placed directly over the camera, facing the subject and angled down to create this shadow. Often there is fill light below and on the sides to soften the look. It is commonly used in cosmetic and fashion advertising since it reduces skin texture and creates a smoother look. We can also start with a strong backlight and fill in with reflectors or other light to open up the shadows. This is a combination of both hard and soft light. All these lighting styles can be created with small portable flash. They may require bouncing the light off a ceiling, wall, or carefully placed reflector card. You can purchase diffusers of different shapes and sizes to create harder or softer effects. Experiment with different methods and lighting styles to find what works best for you and your subject.